Hello, everybody. My name is Twesigye Jackson Kaguri. I'm the CEO and founder of Nyaka International, Nyaka Inc., Nyaka Canada, Nyaka UK. I was born and raised in a tiny village of Uganda called Nyaka, Jersey, where 21 years ago, I launched a small school for children who are orphaned because of HIV/AIDS. Background information, because I'm speaking to all of you who are involved in Save the Children International, an organization I admire and have so much respect for because of the work you've done around the world. So Dr. Gail Clifford asked me to record a few minutes sharing how Nyaka's approach to feminism, Nyaka's work in relation to girls, to women, and to communities we serve. I was born in a patriarchal society. My father, who still lives in a village where I was born and raised, is a man who is set in his own ways, in a patriarchal ways. My mother died in 2020, December 21, 2020, during COVID, not from COVID. She was 91 years old. The approach Nyaka has taken in doing the work we do is focused on girls, women, and teenage girls. Nyaka was started by me because I already had that feminism approach. How did it begin? Many years ago, my grandfather, who lived in a village that I was born in and raised in, my maternal grandfather was married to 5 women. So I had 5 grandmothers. When he became a Christian man, he stayed with one woman, my grandmother, and built a church and raised us in that church. My grandmother, Marisa Rukwira, was a huge influence in my life growing up. But I also saw the opportunities that she missed as a young girl who married my grandfather in 1914. In 1979, I'm going to tell you a story that gives you this whole background. 1979, as a young boy, I fell from a tree where I was climbing, having fun in a village where I was born and raised. A tree branch went through my leg from one side and came on the other side, leaving a big gap in my leg. Everyone who saw me that day thought Jackson is going to die. My grandmother, at around 85 years of age, because we don't know her age, was the only one who believed I was not going to die. Grandmother. And for a boy to fall from a tree like that in a village where you have no ambulances, women who were home doing their chores were the ones who carried me from that tree stump all the way to the hospital, where I reached, and the people who were at the hospital said the doctor is not there and the doctor won't come until a week later. When the doctor showed up, ladies and gentlemen, it was too late. The leg was already developing infection. He looked at the leg and told my parents that either this leg is going to be cut off or we can work on him, but we don't have anesthesia to help him sleep while we work on the leg. So ladies and gentlemen, the doctor gave me a piece of wood. I beat that wood and he cut through my leg, removing all the debris that had stuck in the leg. And because of that, Kambuga Hospital, which is still there today, because of that, I stayed in the hospital for 6 months. During these 6 months, my grandmother, Marisa Rukwira, would walk close to 3 miles, come to the hospital, sit on next to me in the hospital, and read me verses in the book of Psalms in the Bible every single day for 6 months. This is in a village where there is no electricity, where there is no street lights, where there were no ambulances, bicycles, or anything. In the darkness, she walked. In the rain, she walked, because she told me, you are not going to die. 6 months later, when I left the hospital, I found out that my grandma did not know how to read. My grandfather, who also never went to school, had taught himself how to read, read the Bible, and preached in church every weekend. But he had opportunity to teach himself how to read. So while I was in the hospital, my grandmother would sit down with my grandpa, and my grandpa would read to her over and over and over until she would recite the verses she was going to read for me that night. Ladies and gentlemen, my grandmother was married to a man who knew how to read because he taught himself. But my grandmother never had an opportunity to learn how to read because she was taking care of the family. Now you see, this grandmother gave birth to my mother, and then my mother raised me. I am the last born of 5 children, so I was born a feminist. And I'm not ashamed to say it, admit it. I am a father of 2 girls, twin girls, and 2 boys, and I want them to grow up with a feminist lens. I am the guy who talks about sanitary products, who advocates for girls' education, and I'm going to give you I'm going to share with you how I have used that in the approach Nyaka works and has continued to work to this day. So ladies and gentlemen, Nyaka was started in 2021. My grandmother is dead, my mother is dead, but their legacy lives on because of their influence, because of what I saw them going through as women in a society dominated by men. I vote when I grow up, I want to do something for girls. As a child, I didn't know what that would be. So when I studied human rights, graduated from Makerere University, went to Columbia University, women's rights movement were at the heights. Excuse me. And I said to myself, when I launched Nyaka on August 2nd, 2001, we started an organization and voted to give girls 60% of admission. So that was the first thing we did. I knew that girls go through many obstacles to get education, and therefore wanted to make space for them, majority of them to go to school and to enjoy school. But to go to school only, 60% of admissions going to girls, I knew that was also going to be an obstacle. So I worked with the community leaders. But before even the community leaders came into place, I went to a woman who I call second mother in Uganda, Freda Byabulachiria, who had been my teacher, and told her, you helped me as a child to stay in school. You have mentored me, cared for me, and loved me. Now I've launched a school for children who don't have mummies and daddies. You are a grandmother, you understand how this works. Please come and encourage these children to focus and stay in school. And Freda Byabulachiria accepted and became our first headmistress. So number 1 approach for Nyaka was to give admission, 60% of admission to girls. Number 2 approach was to get a woman who is going to care, love, and mold lives just like she molded mine. My mother never read a word in English, never spoke a word in English. But Freda Byabulachiria, who was my 3rd grade teacher, primary 3, encouraged me when I was a child. My father had a disagreement with my mother, and mother had ran away to her own family, and I was determined to leave school because I could not live without my mom. My mom was my best friend, the best hero. May her soul rest in peace. I love you, Mama Janet. This is all because of you, because of your mom, because of my sisters, and because of my daughters. Feminism in me continues to grow. Fred Abiyaurachiria, my teacher, told me, Jackson, don't go out of school. Stay in school and work hard. Make sure when you grow up, you build a home for your mother so your dad will never chase her from that home. Fred encouraged me, and if you don't believe this story and how it transformed me, read my book, A School for My Village. I have acknowledgement of Fred Abiyaurachiria in that book. So number one approach was to have 60% of children as for admission in Nyaka Primary School, the first primary school. Number two was to have a woman as a headmistress, as a leader, a model to show the community that yes, women can lead and women have the power to change the world. 21 years later, you can see the fruits, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So female leaders was something big. The second person we hired was a young man called Agaba, but the third person after Agaba was Lydia Agaba, his wife, and who is now the headmistress of Nyaka. Whew! Our girls can see this and tell you the stories on how Fred molded them. Lydia still molds them today in 2022. So female leaders have been at the center of Nyaka. But surrounding children with opportunities to allow them to grow and thrive was also at the center of our mission 21 years ago and still at the center of our mission today in 2022. So Nyaka organization works with boys and girls now who are more vulnerable. We started with HIV/AIDS, HIV/AIDS orphans. We got into vulnerable and other disabilities. We can talk about that, but female focused. The country director of Nyaka right now is Jennifer Nantare, who is an amazing mother of twins and a woman. Her assistant, Shabnam Olinga, these are the two people side by side who lead all our programming in Uganda, is Shabnam Olinga, also a woman. We have more female teachers than male teachers on purpose because of the role women play in the community. But let me share with you more exciting news. Save the Children, you know this already, so I am preaching to the choir. When Nyaka launched 21 years ago, we built schools, and these schools were populated with 60% girls. When we built a second school called Kutamba, we did the same thing. But then I sat down with the committee on the ground, the management committee, and they told me if we are going to make sure girls stay in school, we also need to demolish obstacles that affect girls' education. One, clean water systems. So I went around the world, was already living in Michigan. I went to Rotary Club of Michigan. I'm a former president of Rotary, and convinced Rotary clubs in Michigan to work with Rotary Club of Chihihi in Uganda and the government of Kanungu district, and we were able to put in clean water systems. Why? Because girls got fetch water early in the morning and then have to walk to school every day. That obstacle of going to fetch water, we knocked it out. Now, women and girls had water on their doorsteps or nearby, and therefore they were walking to school, getting there at the same time boys are, which is why we have graduated girls at a rate higher than anybody in the area. So we focused on obstacles that affected them. Clean water was one. Clean water was not only an obstacle for them to go fetch water, it's also an obstacle to their hygiene. As girls began poverty, we provide sanitary products to every single girl in the entire program. All three schools now, Nyaka Primary, Kutamba Primary, secondary school, girls who are in high school, girls who are at university still receive sanitary products, which is needed by every girl around the world. But for those who can't afford it, they drop out of school because of that obstacle. Nyaka chopped that obstacle down, and now our girls were able to stay in school and compete. As a result, we built a clinic, family planning, sex education, How do you know parts of your body? How do you respond to diseases? When I was growing up, my mother, when she was sick, my sisters stayed home to take care of mother. When we were sick, we were sent out of school to go home. You have already walked 7 miles to school. Now they sent you 7 miles back. Now you are dehydrated. There is no medicine at home. Nyaka started clinic shelves within our schools so our girls can have medicine right there. So instead of children staying home with their guardians, now they were coming to school to get medication they deserve and stay in school. So the obstacle of medical care, sanitary products, clean water, all taken care of. The other obstacle rural girls face is lack of food, because the girls are the ones who make food, who go to prepare the food, go harvest it, bring and peel matoke, bring the leaves. Making a matoke in Uganda is a chore that takes the whole day. And now if you're a girl in my village and you have to make sure all of those are there before you get to school, you come to school late. We took out that obstacle by creating a farm within Nyaka organization and grow food. Then we feed children. Our girls eat a meal a day at school, so when they go home, even if that's the only meal they have, they don't have to go cooking and going to fetch water, going to bring firewood to make food. But the other thing we did also in the community to make sure obstacles are taken down, accommodation. We didn't want to build an orphanage. We built a community of kinship, approaching grandmothers who were near schools, our primary schools and elementary schools, to house children. Ladies and gentlemen, that program started as a few grandmothers housing children. We grew the program beyond the catchment area of Nyaka and launched the grandmothers program. I have taken grandmothers from Nyaka village, ladies and gentlemen, to Toronto, Canada, on a plane for the first time ever. And they met other grandmothers around the world, encouraged them to push for girls' education, to advocate for girls' education. Sometimes feminists, women feminists, are not looking at the fact that women in rural areas of Uganda once in a while are the ones asking their own daughters and granddaughters to live within this whole crowd of patriarchy. Women are the ones who are doing genital mutilation to their daughters and granddaughters. Women are telling other women, yeah, just grow up and get married and you'll be okay. Women are telling their daughters, this happened to me and I survived. This is still happening today. A girl is abused in a marriage. They go running to their mother or their auntie, and the aunt said, don't worry, don't upset your husband to beat you. It's okay, I was beaten also, but here I am. No, no, no. We have taught our own children in Nyaka, do not stand for abuse. Stand for what is right. Even if society tells you, don't shame us, you have a right to walk away. No woman should be beaten and stay in a relationship being beaten every single day. I know some of you listen to me and some of you are in those relationships. The choice you make, but we encourage our girls not to do that. So we have made sure that girls have a place to stay with grandmothers. We educate those grandmothers. We have empowered 20,000 grandmothers, and they are raising 86,000 children. Gail and our monitoring and evaluation poll soon will bring impact reports that will show you the exact numbers of girls within those 86,000 children. Excuse me. We are still growing. We are still working on these numbers and we'll get them to you. But for now, I want you to know that Nyaka's feminist approach, my dream of getting more girls to learn how to read so they don't have to be like my grandmother who could not read and her husband, my grandpa, had to read for her to save my life. My mother who never read English, but 6 books I published when my mom was alive. And she would take those books and turn pages and look satisfaction for me as an author, as a writer, to see your mother who can't read the words, looking at pictures, knowing my son wrote this. I lived to see this, and it made my heart very happy. But so grandmothers, 20,000, these grandmothers, ladies and gentlemen, we have empowered them economically. They have microfinance, they borrow money, they make baskets, they make jewelry, they sell these. Nyaka buys them, brings them to United States, to UK, to Canada, sells them. I am right now recording this from Nanaimo Island off Vancouver. And after here, I'm going to sell grandmother's baskets at this island, made in Nyaka village, because we took a feminist approach, because we have promoted women. Women's products are here on Nanaimo Island because of Nyaka. $300,000 plus is in circulation within these grandmothers. Now they own houses, now they own land, now they have bank accounts, because we took an approach to look at women as responsible citizens who can grow and raise society in Uganda. Beautiful World Canada, based out of Toronto, partnered with Nyaka when we started graduating our students to go to university. As a result of Beautiful World Canada, thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Beautiful World Canada staff who work very hard. They have scholarships for girls. We have graduated a lawyer who works at Stanbic Bank. Her name is also Sarah. We have graduated a nurse who was the best nursing student graduating from Senior 6 in Uganda, Bonita. We have graduated teachers. More than 8 teachers at Nyaka, in the Nyaka system now, are girls that graduated. Beautiful World Canada paid for your education at university, and now they are teachers. We have graduated engineers. We have an engineer, Winnie, who is working on Uganda road construction as an engineer as a result of Nyaka's education. We have girls who have started their own businesses. We have girls in Middle East. We have girls in Canada. Here at Nanaimo Island, tomorrow morning, ladies and gentlemen, I'm meeting with Shira Owomujisha, who graduated from Nyaka, went to high school. Beautiful World Canada paid for her high school. When she was coming to college, she competed for a scholarship to come to Nanaimo, Canada, flew from Entebbe Airport to Amsterdam to Vancouver. I came here at Vancouver and met her at the airport and brought her on this island. She has finished her degree and she's empowered to make a difference in the world. But ladies and gentlemen, in 2015, as we were visiting Nyaka, we found out also that our girls were facing another challenge, an internal battle that we didn't anticipate. Me, who grew up in this village, didn't know this even happens. Our girl, 9-year-old girl, had been raped while she was going to school. Nyaka's approach of knocking down every obstacle went into the 5th gear. For those of you who drive cars with 5-speed, I mean the highest gear, we went, worked with the society, worked with our people on the ground, worked with grandmothers, and started a program to fight against gender-based violence, SGBV. This program, since 2015, has worked with more than 300 victors. Mark my words, we don't call them victims. They are victors because after you've gone through such a traumatic experience, you are not a victim. You are a victor because you are still standing, because you can talk about your experience. We have been able to identify perpetrators, put them in jail. Since 2015, Nyaka has an entire department headed by Jennifer Nawera that is working every single day to raise awareness, to prevent, and to make sure rape does not exist in our society. We have a gender-based work against gender-based violence every year. We skipped in the COVID, that brings together practitioners, government, police, prosecutors, and the entire society, lamenting and signing up by their presence. We fight against gender-based violence. It cannot be tolerated. Those walks, ladies and gentlemen, attract more than 4,000, 5,000 people. We brought in singers. This last one in July 2022, we had the British High Commissioner who came to Chihihi, worked with us, and we opened a healing center. At every hospital, our dream is open a healing center, a room at the public hospital where girls can be safe, can be treated. We work with police, we work with hospitals, we educate the public. If your daughter is raped, don't give her a shower, bring her as quickly as possible. With a cell phone and a motorcycle, our department, community mobilizers, one of them, Bosco, will go all over. You can see a small clip called Victors on YouTube, Nyaka website, YouTube, that will show you how Bosco will go on a motorcycle at midnight and go rescue a girl. Once in a while, he also has to go to the police station, put the police officer and his gun on this motorcycle, call the people to make sure everyone can support him and grab these perpetrators and put them in jail. Kanungu district does not have a juvenile hospital. So we've had to transport the rapists who are younger than 18 years of age or 18 and below, have to go in juvenile. So we've had to transport them to Fort Potro, transport them to Cavalry, and we pay all expenses so our girls can be safe. So, ladies and gentlemen, between 60% admission, clean water, sanitary products, knickers for girls. No girl should have one pair of underwear. We've advocated. I know Jennifer and I were in Colorado one day and I'm talking about sanitary products and she said, Jackson, remember also talk about underwear. A girl walks from school 7.5 miles, it's raining and she has to wash her underwear and hope in the morning it is dry to wear again. One, if she wears it when it is wet, she gets an infection in her private parts. If it is too wet and she says, I can't wear it, then she stays at home and misses school. Nyaka has worked to make sure girls have more than one pair of underwear, and this has kept them in school. I know when I talk about this, people have made fun of me. Hi, a whole man with 3 PhDs and salon or doctor, director, you are talking about women underwear. I will do what it takes, ladies and gentlemen, to make sure that our girls are secure, our girls are safe, and they can stay in school. Because I know educating a woman is educating a community. If my grandmother had given up on coming to that hospital bed one night, I could have died. Because she walked every day, I work every day to make sure girls have education. Because my mother lived for 93 years without speaking a word in English, but made sure that her youngest son gets education. When I was going to Columbia University, she said a prayer for me. Said, when you go there, find a church, you're going to be okay. My mother was my hero, will continue to be a hero, and because of her, here we are. My sisters, 2 of them who are still living, Christine and Faida, continue to be pillars. They don't even understand what feminism means, but they have advocated for their daughters. They are my nieces and nephews, all have this lens and they'll be watching this. So good job, continue to be advocates. But most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, we have an army of 20,000 grandmothers who understand that they can advocate for their daughters and their daughters have choices. We have 86,000 children out there in the world who have gone through Nyaka experience and understand they have choices and they can make a world a better place. So as you go out to do your work, Save the Children International, go in peace. Know that you have advocates, men and women. We do need more men to make this stand. Patriarchy is real. The Girls' Long Road to Freedom by Margot Day out of Boston introduces this journey around the world where girls are still suffering in 2022. You wouldn't want your daughter to be the one who is left behind because she's a girl. You wouldn't want your mother to be beaten and thrown away, and then their family says, because you're a woman, you should endure it. We don't need to encourage this. Let's take the approach of saving life one at a time, women at the center of it, because they are our mothers. After all, Mary, the mother of Jesus, was a woman. So if nothing else, and you're a Christian like me, take that advice and run with it. Thank you. Enjoy your training. God bless you. The best is yet to come.